Okay, so we're going to start once again the Petroff defense, um, which begins after e4, e5, knight f3, knight f6. And to many people, this is known as the copycat defense, because after knight takes e5, many people go knight takes e4, and then find themselves losing either a queen here, like this, or for some more advanced players, losing a queen like this. So there is a correct way for black to play this variation, and if he plays queen to e7, this is still pretty bad, because after queen takes e4, black can choose to pin the knight on e5 with the pawn on d6, but after d4, d takes, white is simply going to be up a pawn in this position. So after knight c6, white can protect this pawn with bishop to b5. Therefore, usually black doesn't take the pawn on e4, and usually black will play the move d6. After d6, knight to f3, and black now can take the pawn back. So now playing something like queen to e2 would be a mistake, because if you play the move queen to e2 now, he can play the move queen to e7, and if after d3, knight f6, you don't really gain anything from this queen exchange here. So in this case, we still want to get rid of this knight on e4, but we'll get rid of it by playing a developing move ourselves, knight to c3. Knight to c3, you're attacking that knight immediately, so we give him a choice, either take or leave. If he leaves and plays knight to f6, then we get a very typical position in this opening. After d4, bishop e7, we get we need to play h3 to prevent bishop to g4. If he plays rook to e8, we castle. He plays knight to d7, and we can move our knight to d2 or to e2 to free up our c3 pawn to either go c3 or c4. He might play knight to f8, but then we go knight to g3. This is a good maneuver. We can control f5 now. He might follow with knight to g6, but then after rook to e1, we have a typical position in this kind of system, where white has a good space advantage, and he has a good amount of central control on the dark squares. His pieces should be free to develop, and later on he can try something like c4 and d5, or just simply stay on c3, depending on how the position turns out. Knight to f6 wastes the move for black, so he will usually just play knight to c3 to take your knight and not waste the move going back. White should take with a d-pawn here. Usually people capture towards the center, but the bishop isn't really looking to develop on b2 or a3. White will rather play quickly and kill two birds with one stone with this move, playing d takes c3, getting the bishop out to f4 in the future. Bishop to e7. So now, yeah, white has a choice. White can play bishop f4 or bishop to e3. I suggest bishop to e3, but both of these lines have the same idea here. Bishop to e3, for example, knight to c6. In both lines, we are going to attack on the king's side. Now notice here, black is delaying his kingside castling. Let's see what happens if he does castle kingside. If he castles kingside, white will play queen to d2, and after knight to c6, we can just simply castle. If you play something like knight to e5, we don't need to worry about what he plays. We just keep attacking. h4. Of course, black here will not take here, because this is, like, he can win a pawn here, but this is not going to be good for him. We just open another file for his rook. For example, after here, bishop to d3 is very good, because now this bishop is pinned to this pawn. And now we can get our other rook over here to g1. This is going to be very winning for white, so this is not something that black wants to go into. Black will probably play something like bishop to g4, though, threatening the win a pawn on f3. So we defend our knight with bishop to e2. And if black plays queen to c8, we continue pushing with the move h5. And after he plays rook to e8, we just keep going with h6. We have a simple attack on the king's side. This is a typical attack on the king's side. We storm our pawns onto the other side without any worry, because our king is castled safely on the queen's side. And you notice how much faster white's attack is. White already has a pawn on h6, and he's ready to attack, and black still has about nothing on the queen side. In fact, he doesn't really even have a piece in this area to attack white with. So I think white here is doing just fine. But a lot of times black will choose to not castle kingside in this case and avoid any hope of that kind of attack. And if he does that, then he'll play something like knight to c6, and after queen to d2, he'll play bishop to e6. Once again, you guys should not be afraid of playing bishop g4. If he goes like this, you can simply just castle. And once again, if he just castles and say h3 and trades off here, your g file is going to be very, very useful in attacking the king. So a lot of times he'll play queen to d7, preparing the queenside castling. And we still don't care if he gives us double pawns. That's fine. If he castles queenside, we have the pair of bishops, and after playing f4, in fact, we can use this pair of bishops like this and like this to attack his kingside. These two long, long diagonals are really, really good for white. Black will play bishop to e6, and then you can castle. Castle, and then black plays queen to d7, preparing to queenside castle himself. Now, a lot of times when you guys are queenside castle like this, the weak pawn here is on a2. Now, though black couldn't take it immediately here, because then after b3, followed by king to b2, black will lose his bishop because it's trapped. But after queen to d7, eventually white would like to solve this problem. So since he has a chance right now, why not play king to b1? Black also solves this problem with a6, and he's just waiting for white to start the kingside attack here. For example, h4, and then he slowly improves his position with h6. And notice how white doesn't really commit that much on the kingside either, because he kind of knows that black might have the option of castling queenside. So white might try to improve his center with knight to d4. And after knight takes d4, it's important to take with a bishop on d4. See, another benefit of playing king to b1 is that there's no tricks like bishop g5 pinning your queen here. So bishop to d4 is the correct move here. Also, the bishop on d4 is better than taking with a pawn. Even though you might be undoubling your pawn here, this pawn structure with d4, c2, b2, and a2 is very difficult to attack with. In fact, this is actually blocking the bishop's view to the queen side. So it's better to take with the bishop. The bishop does well on the centralized square. You are attacking the g7 pawn right now, so black will need to take time to play the move rook to g8 and defend this pawn on g7. But even if he does that, it's fine because we will undouble our pawns with c4, and then we can look to play c5 later on. After queenside castling, the attacks here for white will not be as fierce as if he played the other line with where black castled kingside. But after like bishop to e2, we can look for ideas like bishop f3 later on, attacking the queenside as well. And in general, this pawn is going to be pretty weak. This pawn can't really move because this pawn's weak. And black's pieces right now will need a little bit of time to adjust and to get coordinated. So I think white will be able to attack black's pawn weaknesses in the meantime and have a good amount of central control once again with the pawn here, bishop here, with a good space advantage. So I think this position will give white a small but solid edge.